So Robert took probably called Lego, it didn't go to
Hey, Erev Tov, everyone. The last time we started speaking about Sfirat HaOmer. So the famous question, the common question that comes up every year is what happens when somebody, it would never happen here, but what happens if somebody forgot to count one of the nights, right? And what do you do? And should you carry on counting? Do you carry on counting with a bracha, without a bracha, etc.? So by way of introduction to answering that question, so we have two very famous machlokot, both involving the Bahag, the Baal Halachot Gedolot. When it comes to Sfirat HaOmer, Bahag is one of the Rishonim. Everybody remembers the Bahag because of what he said about Sfirat HaOmer. So he says two things. One is, when is the time that we are meant to count, or time that we're able to count Sfirat HaOmer? As we all know, we count at night, right? We have to wait until nightfall. That's why when we do early Shabbos, we don't count in shul. We have to go home and remember to count afterwards at night. Question is, could you count during the day afterwards, right? If you didn't count at night for whatever reason, it's still the day, it's still part of the 24-hour period. So according to the Bahag, he says, yes, you can count during the day. Other Rishonim, Tosfot, etc., say, no, you have to count at night. And if you didn't count at night, then you can't count during the day. So that is one machloket. That is where the Bahag is more makel. Okay, it's learned from the Ketzirat HaOmer, and when that was done, etc., but that's a discussion. So, what? Anytime. With a bracha. With a bracha. According to the Bahag, if you didn't count at night, you could do it during the day. But according to Tosfot, you can't at all. Now, so there we find the opinion of the Bahag, which is more lenient in that regard. The other machloket that we have, and this is the famous one, is that because the Torah said, we mentioned already, Sheva Shabbatot Tmimot Tiyena. You have to count 7 complete weeks. So the Bahag seems to understand the Baal Halachot, that means that when you are counting, you have to count the entire 7 weeks, and if there's any day that you miss, you can no longer count. In other words, the way this is often explained, and we'll question that in a moment, it's not so clear this is what he meant, but the way it's often explained is that according to Bahag, this is all one mitzvah. It's one complete mitzvah, and if you miss any part of that, then you would not be able to carry on counting. The big question about that is, if it's one mitzvah, why do we say a bracha every single day, right? So that's why it may be that the Bahag doesn't actually say that it's one mitzvah. He says it's Tmimot. He says, therefore, you have to, you missed one of the days, you can't say the bracha in terms of counting according to him, you can't count the other days you've missed it. But we could explain the following. Not that it's one mitzvah, really, we could explain that every day is its own mitzvah, even according to the Bahag. But what happens when you count from 1 to 40, from 1 to 50, 1 to 49, right? If you miss a number in the middle, you're not counting anymore, right? So each day is its own mitzvah. But if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, right? That's not called counting. That's just called saying numbers. But I missed the number in the middle. There's no way to carry on counting. In any event, but according to the Bahag, if you missed a day, you can no longer count. According to the other Rishonim, it's interesting. According to Tosfot and others who are now in this, we said before the Bahag was a bit more lenient, this one is more stringent. But according to most of but the next day is a new day, is a new mitzvah, and you carry on, you count there with the mitzvah, with bracha. So those are the two different opinions. So what happens when we plug this in? Just mention one thing first in terms of the time to count at night. So we said Sheva Shabbatot Tmimot Tiyena. It has to be 7 complete weeks, right? This is why when we get to Shavuot, we wait. If we can, we wait until nightfall to daven Maariv. We want it to be 7 complete weeks at the end. The question is, at the beginning, should you be counting? So the poskim say you should count as early in the night as possible. But if it whatever person daven later, whatever, it's fine. We're not so makbid on that. But so what happens is this: what if a person normally davens Maariv, not a few minutes after, but you have your kavua minyan is at 10 o'clock at night or whatever? Should you count earlier at the beginning of the night in order to in order to make it more of the Tmimot. So he says here, he says, somebody whose fixed time that they daven Maariv is later on at night, that's the minyan they go to. So he says, so a person should count at the end of Maariv, you should count at the end when you normally daven. And the reason for that is, that's the way you normally daven, that's the way you always do it. If you start changing now, you say, I'm going to start counting early and I'm going to daven Maariv later, you'll get confused, you'll forget, you'll make mistakes. It's better to do the counting together with the tzibur. But somebody who normally davens early, you come to Beit Knesset Nasi every day for Mincha Maariv, and this is the time that you daven right at the beginning of the night. For whatever reason, a certain night you can't come, you can't daven at your regular minyan, you're going to daven later. So he says then in such a case, he says, okay, so he says you're going to daven later, you'll find a minyan, you'll go to wherever, so then you should still daven together you should still count together with the minyan. But if you know that you're going to daven that evening without a minyan, so then you shouldn't wait until you're going to daven by yourself later, but you should count as soon as you can after Tzeit HaKochavim. Okay. So now, what happens if a person forgot to count, or the other sveikot? So he says like this: before that, השוכח לספור. נחלקו הראשונים השוכח לספור בלילה יכול להשלים את ספירתו ביום. So as we already mentioned, we have a מחלוקת ראשונים. If somebody didn't count at night, can they count during the day? למעשה נפסק שיספור בלא ברכה, כך שמצד אחד יקיים מצוות הספירה, ומאידך לא ייכנס לספק ברכה לבטלה. Okay. Answer to your question, David. In terms of halacha l'maaseh, what do we say, right? According to the Rishonim, those Rishonim who say during the day would say you could count with a bracha. Those who say you can't count during the day say you can't. We say out of deference to those who say that you should not count during the day, therefore you count without a bracha. So somebody forgot to count Sfirat Omer at night, then you count the next day without a bracha, and then you can carry on afterwards normally. That's why times, or in some places, you come to shul in the morning and somebody will say at the end of davening, okay, hayom, however many days la'omer. We count it at night. There's no meaning to just announce name in the morning unless somebody had forgotten to count the night before, and then that way we're reminding them, and that way you're counting, and then you can carry on. So you would count in the day without a bracha, and then the next night you carry on with a bracha. Now, what happens if somebody forgot to count at night and they forgot to count during the day? They only remember the next night when you come to Maariv and you hear the Chazan making the bracha. So you've completely missed 24-hour period. So, according to the Bahag, as we saw, you can no longer count. You can no longer say bracha. According to the other Rishonim, interesting, because most of the Rishonim, we're very. Sometimes, there's a da'at yachid, the singular opinion. For whatever reason, we take that very much to question. But according to the other Rishonim, you could carry on counting. So out of deference to the Bahag, we say a person should not make a mistake. Many people think, if I missed one day, so now I can stop counting. Now for the rest of the Omer, whatever's left, I don't count anymore. That's completely incorrect. Shulchan Aruch says explicitly, no. Somebody who forgot to count one day, we now say, going forward, you would not say the bracha, but you should still count. And you don't lose anything by counting. That's the mitzvah. You can still say that. So out of doubt, we say safek brachot. We wouldn't make the bracha anymore, but you would still carry on counting. So I'll read it in here. So that's what I'm saying. It's strange. It's strange, but that's the way the Shulchan Aruch paskin. So we take into account. So he says, yes, not here, but anyway.
If you count for the sake of a mitzvah, you still mean it's not a mitzvah.
No, so the mitzvah is counting. The mitzvah is saying hayom yom whatever la'omer, right? So according to what we're saying is this. According to most of the Rishonim, you can still carry on counting even though you missed a day. So you should still count and you should still fulfill the mitzvah in that way. The question is relating to the bracha. With all brachot, Birkot mitzvah, we try and say the bracha if we can. We try to do everything we can not to lose the bracha. But if you fulfill the mitzvah without saying the bracha, you still fulfill the mitzvah. Somebody forgot to say the bracha of Al Netilat Lulav, but they held the Arba Minim on Sukkot, not today, but on Sukkot. You still fulfilled the mitzvah of Arba Minim. You've lost the bracha. Right? Same thing. Somebody heard the shofar. They didn't hear the bracha, but they heard the shofar. Fulfilled the mitzvah. So same thing. Somebody counted Sfirat HaOmer. They fulfilled the mitzvah of Sfirat HaOmer. Can you say the bracha? So that's the question. So again, just to summarize, if somebody forgot to count at night, they can count the next day without a bracha, and then they're still in the game, so to speak. Then they can carry on counting with the bracha every other night. Somebody forgot an entire 24-hour period to count during the night and the day, so they should carry on counting. But at that point, they should no longer say the bracha out of the safek of bracha levatala, and you should hear the chazan, you should answer amen to his bracha, and then you can carry on.